For over 200 years, America has stood as a beacon of hope, democracy, and liberty. A nation built by people from all corners of the world, all bound by a single, unbreakable idea, that anyone can achieve their dreams if they work hard enough. The American dream. But today, that dream is increasingly out of reach for many. Beneath the surface of political discourse and heated social debates, there's a hidden threat, one that is quietly, but forcefully, ripping the nation apart from within. It's not something we can see or touch. It's not an invasion, nor is it a single catastrophic event. The real threat is something far more subtle, far more insidious: the growing divisions within America itself. These divisions are not new, but they have deepened over the past few decades. We're no longer just a country divided by politics or social issues. Today, we're divided by our very sense of reality. The lines are drawn, not just between red states and blue states, but between the truths we hold, the facts we believe, and the futures we envision. This is the hidden threat that could tear America apart. Number 1, the historical roots of division. America's divisions are nothing new. From the very beginning, the country was built on the coexistence of contrasting ideologies. The American Revolution itself was born out of conflicting interests, between colonists and the British monarchy, between the desire for freedom and the reality of controlling vast territories. The Civil War, which tore the nation apart in the mid-19th century, was perhaps the most extreme manifestation of America's internal divisions. It was a fight over slavery, but it was also a battle for the soul of the nation. Would America be a place of freedom for all? Or would it remain a divided, segregated land where only some people could fully experience liberty? Although the Civil War ended with the abolition of slavery, the wounds it inflicted never truly healed. The legacy of division, between North and South, black and white, rich and poor, continued to shape American society. Reconstruction failed to reunite the country, segregation took root, and race relations became a foundational tension that still plagues the nation today. Number 2, the political polarization. Fast forward to today, and it's clear, political polarization has reached a breaking point. The once stable two-party system, designed to provide balance and diversity of thought, has become a battle of extremes. Where once we debated policy, we now fight over basic truths. It wasn't always like this. Yes, the political parties have always had their differences, but the kind of ideological warfare we see today, where compromise is seen as weakness, and cooperation is branded as betrayal, is a relatively recent development. The rise of 24/7 cable news, and now social media, has fueled this polarization. In this environment, the truth has become subjective. Each party tells a different story, and each side clings to its own narrative of what's real. The divide isn't just political, it's psychological. On one side, there are those who fear losing power, status, or way of life. On the other, those who feel left behind, voiceless, and unrepresented. The media has played a significant role in this division. We now have echo chambers, where we hear only what we want to hear, reinforcing our biases rather than challenging them. And then there's the growing distrust in institutions. Government, media, education, and even law enforcement. All these institutions, which once held society together, are increasingly seen as corrupt, biased, or out of touch with the average American. As trust in these institutions fades, the very foundation of democracy begins to erode. Number 3, economic inequality and its role in division. While political division grabs the headlines, another deep and insidious force is quietly ripping America apart from the inside out: economic inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor has never been wider. The middle class, once the backbone of American society, is shrinking, and millions of Americans are struggling to keep their heads above water. This growing economic divide is a perfect storm for social unrest. The American dream, once a shining beacon of opportunity, is now increasingly out of reach for the majority of Americans. While the top 1% continue to accumulate wealth at an alarming rate, wages for the working class have stagnated, and the cost of living continues to rise. The reality is that the vast majority of Americans no longer feel the same sense of upward mobility that once defined the country. For many, their economic circumstances feel stagnant, and even harder to break free from. The promise that hard work will pay off seems like a distant memory for millions of people across the nation. It's not just about money, it's about power. When a small elite controls the majority of wealth, it skews everything: education, healthcare, access to justice, and political influence. It creates a vicious cycle where the rich get richer, and the poor get left behind, further fueling the feeling of alienation and heightening the divide between the two. Number 4. Social and cultural divides. In addition to political and economic fractures, there is a growing cultural divide in America. Racial tensions, social justice movements, and debates over what it means to be American have become increasingly contentious. The same country that prides itself on its diversity is now witnessing a clash of cultures like never before. Take the Black Lives Matter movement, for example. What started as a peaceful demand for justice has sparked a wider debate on race, policing, and equality in America. On one hand, we have calls for social reform and equal treatment for all races. On the other, we have those who view these movements as divisive, claiming that they attack the very institutions that hold the country together. But it's not just race. The debates have expanded to issues like immigration, gender, LGBTQ+ rights, and climate change. Each of these cultural issues serves as another battleground for division. While some call for progress, others hold fast to tradition. What happens when there's no middle ground left? What happens when we can't even agree on what it means to be American anymore? Number 5. The hidden threat. All of these fractures, political, economic, social, are feeding into a single, hidden threat: the collapse of national unity. It's not a sudden catastrophe. It's not a war or an attack from outside forces. It's the slow, creeping erosion of trust, respect, and shared purpose. The hidden threat facing America today is the growing sense that we, as a nation, no longer have a common future. We don't agree on what America should look like. We don't share the same values. We don't even speak the same language. Our institutions are fractured, our communities are divided, and our leaders seem unable, or unwilling, to bridge the gap.
But it's not too late. The path forward may not be easy, but it is possible. It begins with each of us. Acknowledging the divisions that exist and committing to heal them. It starts with listening, understanding, and seeking common ground. America is not perfect, but it is worth fighting for.
The real threat isn't the divisions we face, it's the refusal to face them.
Together we can rebuild a nation that is truly united, but we need to act.
Now.
The future of America depends on it.
The future of America depends on it.